Hey artists, today we're going to draw and paint this squirrel. Make sure that you have a pencil, an eraser, a Sharpie, watercolor paper, watercolor paints, a glass of water, paintbrushes, and a paper towel. It's important to have the correct materials for this type of painting, especially the watercolor paper and the Sharpie. Let's go ahead and get started. We're going to start with our pencil, and we are going to start at the squirrel's head. So we're going to draw kind of a teardrop looking shape. Start with a rounded shape like this, and then come down for the nose, and then around, and then we'll stop about there. So it kind of looks like a teardrop, like upside down, sideways. And then we're gonna draw in some of this nose, so just a kind of a curved line like this, and then this lighter part of the mouth is right here. Then we're gonna draw in an ear, curved line around like this, and then this ear on this side, again a curved U shape. You can draw in a little line and some squiggly for the fur. You can go ahead now and erase just that extra line there if you want. And then we're going to add in the eye, which we'll put right around here. I added a highlight to the eye, so when you go back in with your marker, you want to leave that white. I'm going to fix this just a little bit. This face shape. Something like that. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead with his body. I'm going to start about here and then start curving down and around like this. And then from this side, I'm going to start on the belly and curve down and around, kind of like this. So this is where we are now on our squirrel. Next we're going to draw in this front leg. So we're going to start about here, go up, around, and down. And then we will add in the foot. So I'm going to pull this down a little bit further. I'm just going to make a rounded shape, and then around, and some little toes here, like that. And then we're going to do the little front paw, curve down like this here, and then again a couple little finger type paw shapes here. I'm going to do the inside of the belly. That's going to be a lighter color like this. And then we're going to start, I'm going to make this belly just a little bit smaller. Just like that. All right, and then I'm going to add in the foot on the back end so you can kind of see it's right in here. So I'm just going to draw down like this, and then add in a couple toes again, little paws, claws, whatever you want to call them. We're going to add a nut into his hand here, so a little acorn shape. Draw a line up like this, and then around, a little stem piece on top. I just kind of drew like a little rectangle with a circle on top, and then you can draw in this shape like this little pattern. And then we're going to draw in the bottom of the acorn, just another U shape like this, some little claws on this side, and then the rest of his arm is kind of behind this acorn, so I'm going to draw a little bit of his arm there like that. All right, next we're going to draw in the tail. So I'm going to take my pencil and I'm going to draw in the tail first, and then I'm going to add the lumps. So I'm going up and curving around like this. And then we'll start about here and connect it to his bottom back here like that. I'm going to make it a little bit fluffier at the top, a little thinner here. Okay, like that. I'm going to erase those extra lines. Okay, so then I'm just going to take my pencil and I'm going to kind of zigzag over that line so that when I go back with my marker, I know to add some zigzag lines to make his tail look nice and fluffy. Just like that. Okay. All right, next I'm going to add in a branch here. So I'm going to start about here, right above his foot, kind of curve up that way. Your branch might look different than mine. All branches are a little different, so do it however you want. I'm just gonna attach that branch to the tree here. I'm just gonna kind of draw a straight line on either side. I added a couple leaves to mine just to give it a little bit more color, so just kind of like a teardrop shape, and then a line through it like that. And then we'll do one here, like that, and then one more. Okay. All right, I think I'm all sketched in with my pencil, so what I'm gonna do is go ahead and take my Sharpie and I'm gonna go over all of those pencil marks. You can also add a couple little zigzaggy lines in the tail if you want, just to give it a little bit more texture. I did that with my marker, and then I also left a highlight in the nose that I forgot to mention. So as you're going around with your Sharpie, just make sure not to fill in those highlights. And then also you can make some of these lines a little bit thicker on the outside of the squirrel. Just makes it stand out a little bit more and gives it some more dimension. These inside lines you can just leave nice and thin. And then we will move on to our next step. Okay, I actually also forgot to tell you that you can go ahead and add some texture to your tree too. You can see I have some lines going down through here. So when you do these lines for your tree, you can kind of go along the same shape as the tree. So you can see that as I'm going around this curve, I'm kind of curving with it. And we're just going to add a couple lines in here, just like this, and that just gives the tree a little bit more texture. All right, now that I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and grab my eraser. I'm going to erase all the pencil marks that I still see, and then we will move on to painting. Okay, I'm all done with my eraser, so I'm going to go ahead and take my paper towel and a paintbrush. We're going to start painting, and we are going to go ahead and start with the squirrel's tail. So I'm going to grab some dark brown first. You can see I have 3 different browns on this squirrel. I have a really light brown, a medium brown, and a dark brown. So we're going to start with this dark brown in the tail, and I'm just going to start following this line with my paint here. This will be a darker portion of the squirrel, and then right under here it's going to be a bit of a shadow because of this curving around and creating a shadow. So all these places that I'm adding paint right now will be the darkest. So you can see I'm adding a little bit more paint here, and then I'm going to start pulling some of that paint out. I'm still going to have to add some more because it's going to get a lot lighter as I'm pulling this paint out. And we want this tail to be pretty dark. We also want it pretty dark right along this line here where his bottom is. And right in here. Okay, pulling that up through the tail here just to get some brown everywhere. Okay. All right, I'm going to go back in now and add a little bit more dark. So right in here, still adding some dark, and then right along this line too. We want some dark here. And we'll just pull that out with some water and blend it in. You can even leave some of that texture on the tail there. It just makes it look a little fuzzier. My brush is kind of making some fur looking strokes. All right, so I think I'm done with my tail. I'm gonna stick with that same brown for a second, and we're gonna grab that dark brown again and do the top of this acorn. So you just wanna fill that in with some brown, like that. You can make it a little darker right along this line where his hand or paw is. You can make it a little lighter here. You can see I picked up some of that paint just to make it lighter and just wiped it on my paper towel. All right, and then I'm gonna go ahead and start on the middle brown here. So it's a little bit lighter than this brown, so I'm actually gonna pick up a different brown for this part. If you don't have two different kinds of browns, you can still use the same brown that you just use less of it and more water. So you can see I'm just going along that line there. We want that a little bit darker. And then we also want closer to here and right under here darker. Right where the paw is, where it would be casting a shadow, and the leg would be casting a shadow. Also right under here, right back here, there would be a shadow. So we just want to start blending that in. Make sure you don't get into the highlight of your eye. You want to keep that white, and also the nose has a highlight that you don't want to do. All right, I'm still making this wet and blending in some of this brown color. I'm going to make the bottom of the feet a little bit darker. And then just blend that up. Also, right along this belly and right in here, you want that to be the darkest part of this color here, because that isn't a very shadowy spot. And also this too, the back of the paw. Just adding some more dark right along here. Oops, made that a little too dark. I think I picked up the wrong brown. So you can see how easy it is to correct it. I just picked it up with my wet brush, just like that. As long as you get it quickly, it is very easy to fix. So with that same brown, I'm going to do the bottom of the acorn. So that medium brown, I'll fill that in just like that. You want it a little darker by the paw and a little lighter right down here, like that. All right, for the lightest part, I used the same brown as I just used, that second brown, and I used a very, very tiny bit of it. So I barely used any. You can see I just have a little bit on there. I'm going to rinse off my brush. Then I'm just going to blend it in and pick a lot of that right back up again. Just like that. All right, also for the squirrel, I wanted to add a little bit more color, and also this yellow kind of makes him stand out a little bit more than the tree. I didn't add any yellow to the tree, so we're just going to take a little bit of yellow color, and we're going to go over certain spots of this squirrel. So right up here, imagine the sun is right up here and it's shining down on the squirrel, so we're just going to add some yellow where we think that the sun might be shining on that squirrel. So I'm just adding it right in here, a little bit down here, and it doesn't have to be exactly where mine is. Add it a little in the ear. If you get too much, just kind of blend it in there. Thought maybe there might be a little bit of sun right on his back here, top of his ear. Even if you want to add a little on the acorn, you can. That's a more important detail than the tree in this picture. Okay, so just like that. All right, now we're going to go ahead and move to the tree. So I used the same brown for the tree that I did for his tail. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of that darker brown, and I'm going to go right along this side here. I made this side a little darker, and it kind of blended in as we're going away because we're ending the picture there. So I just wanted it to be lighter. I'm just gonna add some water. You can see it's getting lighter as I'm dragging it out. When you're going around this curve, just kind of pull your paint in the direction that the tree is going. So I have to add a lot of water to this to get it completely covered with water. And then we want it darker along this bottom part of this branch. So you can add a good bit of paint to that bottom part. And right under the squirrel is important to have it darker too, where he would be standing and there would be a big shadow. You can see I'm filling that in. I'm showing you where it's going to be the darkest right now. And then I'm just going to start pulling that out and blending it. Okay, now work on this side a little bit more. Gonna need a little bit more paint. Okay. Once you're happy with your tree, you can go ahead and start on the leaves. I'm going to grab a little bit of a smaller brush for that. I'm going to just pick up a green color here. I used a lighter green on this one. I'm going to use a little bit darker on this one. So I'm just going to actually fill this in with a good bit of water. There's a little bit of paint there. And then I'm going to go along this bottom edge of this leaf and along this line here. Make it a little darker. Okay, and then we'll do the same for this. I'm just going to fill this in with water again. Add some green to this bottom edge and this line. And then kind of drag it up to fill it in. And one more leaf. Okay, just like that. So again, I added some darker near the bottom and along the line. If you want to go in with some yellow, if you think that you would like that on your leaves, you can. See what it would look like. I will show you. I didn't do that on this one, but I will do it on this one. That way you can see, and you can even do it to the tree if you want. Just like that. All right, I think that I'm all finished painting my squirrel. If you enjoy doing this art project with me, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to see when I release new videos. I would love to paint with you again soon. Most importantly, keep creating. I'll see you next time. Bye.